So this is the section 5, the flash technology. So now we want to switch the gear towards the non-volatile memory for the data storage. This is the outline of the topics. First, we will have an overview of the flash technology, and then we will dive to the device physics of the floating gate transistor. And then we will discuss the memory array architectures. You may have flash or NAND flash. We want to discuss the differences between the NAND and NAND. And then we will talk about the multi-level cell. This is a unique feature in the NAND flash. You don't see this in the SRAM or the DRAM. And then we will talk about the reliability issues. The endurance is one of the reliability issue, but it may also have the retention and the disturb issues as well. And then we will discuss the challenges for scaling the NAND flash, and then finally the recent trends, especially the 3D NAND architecture. First of all, the NAND flash, and this is a technology driver for the digital age. You know, the iPhone business become, let's say, dominant because of two technologies, actually. If you think about like more than 10 years ago, when the first generation iPhone or the smartphone, there are two enabling technologies for the smartphone business. One is the display, the display. The other one is your storage, the SSD or the ENVM. So this is the enabling technologies for the digital data storage, and you have those products used in your daily life. I will skip the discussions, and you know what they are. So let's talk about the history of the digital data storage. So here we talk about the data storage. That means the data wants to stay for a long time. So the storage actually is a little bit different from the memory. If you really want to strictly distinguish between storage and the memory. So we talk about the SRAM and the DRAM. Those are more like a working memory. So those data will be frequently updated in those memory. You manipulate those data, you change the data, and you update the data. But the storage means long-term, like storage. You want to save the data for a long time. And this is the storage. So here, there are different kinds of mechanisms for the data to be stored. And the first category is magnetic-based. And actually, this can be traced back like 1 century ago. So the magnetic tape, I don't know how many of you still remember the magnetic tape. When I was young, I used to use this one, magnetic tape. And then the floppy disk. I don't know how many of you have used the floppy disk. Anyone here? Oh, actually quite a few. So, okay. So then those are based on the magnetic material. And then, of course, the hard drive is also based on the magnetic material. Hard drive. So here the HDD hard drive disk. So those are the magnetic-based data storage. And actually, the magnetic tape is still used today. You may not know that, but in the data center, for the archiving purpose, actually the magnetic tape is still used because this one can store the data for really a long time, tens of years. And also this is very cheap, no cost. So this is still used for the archiving purpose. And then we may also have the optical-based solutions. And I believe you all know CD, and the DVD, Blu-ray. Those are based on the optical method. So you shine the laser to the disk, and then the disk may reflect the light with different strengths. Then you can read out the data 1 and 0 optically. And of course, those are not mainstream anymore. Right? So today, we rely on the semiconductor-based solutions, and this can be traced back to the 1950s from the ROM, programmable ROM. Read-only memory is ROM, and then we have the EPROM. EPROM is electrically EPROM is erasable programmable ROM, and then we have the E square or double E PROM. This electrically erasable programmable ROM. And then in 1980s, the flash memory concept was invented by Toshiba. And then we have the NAND Flash and NAND Flash. And after that, then we have the flash-based solutions like your USB, your SD card, and then your SSD solid-state drive. So basically, that's the history. So here, I just want to say a few words about the PROM and the EPROM and the E square PROM. So the ROM in the semiconductor chips actually are still used today. This is sometimes called OPT, one-time programmable memory. So you can write your data once, and this can be used for your key or the, let's say, the code embedded into your firmware. So the way to do that, OPT, typically is used like anti-fuse. So this is very straightforward. If you have a metal, let's say, metal interconnect, some metal, and between that, you have some like a dielectric, silicon dioxide, for example, and you can break down this silicon dioxide permanently by passing through large current. So then these two terminals will be connected after you program it. You program means you apply large voltage across that, then you permanently break down this one and make it a short circuit. So you can write the data 1 there. That is a short circuit. Then if you think about an array like this, right, the metal wires, if you break down the isolation between those two, then you write 1 there. If you don't do that, then you still have 0. So you can do it once, because after you break down, then you cannot reverse that. So it's like anti-fuse. So you can write the data in once. And then there's this EPROM, so that means you can erase that. But the EPROM, typically the erase is done by the UV light. And then finally we go to this E square PROM. This is more like today's flash. So this is electrically erasable. So you still use electrical voltage to erase the data. So this is like the flash. Actually, this one uses a floating gate transistor already. So any questions here? Then if you compare the magnetic solution and semiconductor solution, let's say HDD hard disk drive with the SSD solid state drive, so you can have those comparison. I will not read those details. Basically, you all like SSD, right? It's faster. You can boot up your system almost instantly. And also the data transfer rate is much higher. And then you don't have the fan or mechanical rotation of the hard disk drive. It's more quiet. And then it's basically all good. Of course, the price is a little bit higher than the hard disk drive. But today, because the SSD, technology moves so fast, so it becomes more and more available. The only downside is that SSD, we will discuss reliability later. It cannot store the data forever. So this is non-volatile memory, so it can store the data for a long time. Here, the long time means a few years, not forever. So this is related to the endurance and the lifetime of the SSD. So this is reliability issues we are going to discuss. So you can use that for a few years, but not for tens of years. You will lose your data. So the hard drive is better in terms of those reliability. So this is the patent filed by Bell Lab for the floating gate transistor. And this is invented by Dr. Kang and Simon Z. So you may have heard of this name before because he is the well-known author for the semiconductor device physics textbook. So this is like a Bible in the semiconductor device physics. So he is the inventor of the floating gate transistor, and he is also regarded like the father of the flash technology. So we will discuss that in more details later. But actually, this is just was a concept from the Bell Lab. The real product that makes the flash technology really, let's say, available is from 1984, and the Toshiba invented the flash concept. So previously, those like floating gate transistor can be programmed and erased, but the flash, in terms of low and NAND flash array architecture, make the flash memory really fast. You can erase the whole block simultaneously. Then this has driven the industry to volume production of the flash around 1984 and 1987. So there are two IEDM papers presented by Toshiba, by Dr. Fujio Masaoka. He is the inventor of the flash technology. And then later we have all those products like SD card, USB, SSD, and so on. So this is from like 1986, the first generation of the flash. And then this is 2011. This is more 25 years flash memory technology scaling in terms of the feature size. And as we discussed before, so the DRAM guys and the standalone DRAM and the flash memory, they are honest about the feature size. So here this number means the physical dimensions of the transistor. Like in 1986 is 1.5 micrometer. And 2011, 10 years ago, it already shrunk to like 20x, means around 27, 28 nanometer. So this is a very aggressive scaling over the years by the industry. And we will talk about what is available now, because in the middle of the 2010s, like 2014, 2015, industry switched from the 2D NAND to the 3D NAND. So that's why here this one stopped at like the one Z node. So here, yes, this is a scanning for the chips. So here this is the individual transistors from the microscope. And this one is the total chip photo of the die. And this is from 2001 to 2015. So you see the capacity increases because at 2001, the technology load is about 160 nanometer, and then the total capacity of the NAND chip is about 1 gigabit. And then in 2015, this is the last generation of the 2D NAND. And this one can give you 128 gigabit capacity. This is in the 1Z node, the third generation of the 10 nanometer class NAND Flash. So this is a very aggressive cost scaling. So here this is a relative cost. Let's say the cost per bit. And then the NAND Flash have seen the growth over the past decade very aggressively, and the yearly growth like 63%. This is driven by those products like SSD, phone, tablet, and those cards. And actually today the major applications for the NAND Flash, let's say 10 years ago, that different multiple applications. You even see like MP3 and so on. But today it was more dominated by the SSD and the smartphone, maybe some tablets. So those are the major consumers for the NAND Flash, and especially the data center is renovating their infrastructure of the data storage. So data center used to use hard disk drive to store your data, but nowadays they all replace that with SSD. Of course, they still have the hard drive or even the tape for the archiving purpose, but most of the active data are stored in the SSD. And here, this is the market share of the NAND Flash. And the NAND Flash are dominated by those vendors here. So it's a little bit more diverse than the DRAM business, because we discussed DRAM before. DRAM only 3 players there: Samsung, Micron, and SK Hynix. In the NAND Flash, there are more players here. So still Samsung is number 1 in terms of the market share. And then here we have this Kioxia. Actually, this is a spin-off from the Toshiba. So remember, in 1980s, Toshiba invented the NAND Flash, and then Toshiba is a key innovator in the NAND Flash technology. But Toshiba is not very good in the business management. Anyway, so Toshiba sell off the spin off the memory business to the Kioxia 2 or 3 years ago. And then Western Digital, okay. So you may have heard of the SanDisk before. SanDisk is a flash memory vendor, and it was acquired by Western Digital maybe 5 years ago. And Western Digital used to make hard disk drive, but they made a very good move a few years ago to acquire SanDisk. So Western Digital is also important in the flash business. And actually, the Toshiba and the SanDisk, or nowadays Kioxia and Western Digital, they are partners. They are partners in the NAND Flash development. So they co-own the manufacturing site and also the R&D. And the Western Digital or the SanDisk, they don't have the fabs in US. Their fabs are all in Japan. And they co-develop the process. So, and after the NAND Flash chips are made, then they just tag different brands, and then they become competitor in the market. But actually, their chips are fabricated at the same site. But after fabrication, they just tag their brand on the chip. So there is a rumor recently the Western Digital is going to buy the Kioxia, and then this will become almost the same as Samsung, because they have so close relationship, and Japanese companies didn't do well in the management. So anyway, there's a rumor that they may become one company, those two. And then Micron and SK Hynix still there. And then Intel, okay. Intel also have their like a memory NAND Flash department. And Intel used to co-develop the NAND Flash with Micron. The same relationship like the SanDisk and the Toshiba before. So Intel and Micron co-develop the NAND Flash technology. They even have a joint venture in Utah, I believe. But then like 2 years ago, they broke up, and then Intel and Micron separately developed their technology. But last year, there's a news that Intel is going to sell their NAND Flash department to SK Hynix by 2025. So you see the consolidation is happening in the industry as well. So by 2025, that means only like 4 players probably, like here Samsung, and then the Western Digital, and the Micron and SK Hynix, and that's it. All right, any questions? Okay, so we can stop this NAND Flash here today, and want to